Hey guys, Weir, roadrunner.com. I want to talk a little bit, just a little bit about the RV of the Grand Canyon that the crypto viewing guys did, and my tasking of it, and my thoughts behind what I was looking for and what was actually produced. So this is the original thing that I stuck in the envelope and attached a number to. All they knew was the number. It's an 8-digit number with a dash in the middle. So I had this picture of the Grand Canyon with some of the pyramids, obviously, in the Grand Canyon. All these pyramids, mountains. They're named after Egyptian gods. They are pyramids. They're ancient pyramids. But all it was in there was this picture of the Grand Canyon, and then in the description is this: describe in detail the specific process that originally formed the Grand Canyon and how the unique formations within the canyon were originally formed. I had asked nothing about gold at all. I didn't say anything about pyramids. I said, describe the process. How was the Grand Canyon formed? Because we're told by scientists that the Grand Canyon was formed from the Colorado River, millions of years running through the Grand Canyon, carving out the canyon. It's ridiculous. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How did the rivers form these pyramid-like shapes? And then why were they even named after Egyptian gods? And they were named. Nobody really knows who named them. But there was an obsession for Egyptian artifacts in the early 1900s, supposedly. So that's why they say. Wesley Powell is the guy who first traveled down the Grand Canyon and reported on it. And of course, he's involved with the Smithsonian. So we all know about the Smithsonian conspiracy. They cover up. Their job is to cover up history. It's really sad, true. But they go around the world and hide things. But so this was, it was what I thought would come out is something other than the river carving the canyon. That's all I was looking for. But what actually came out was much more in depth. Now, if you want the full, and you should have the full story and the presentation by the crypto viewing guys, go to Patreon, the crypto viewing channel. And they got, I think it's an hour-long discussion and video. I'm in that video. And check it out because it's really cool. But I plucked out a couple of the pictures as it relates to the Road to Ruta theory that they kind of covered in the presentation, but not really. So here is what I was really interested in. I just threw up a couple slides. I had started this, and then I kind of stopped. So I'm just going to show you what I got here. This is the first drawing right here on the top left that Dick Allgaier had, and this is before the whole process started. As related to this target, he saw this: men in suits, all animated, all pissed off. And this is a picture from Jekyll Island when they were deciding to create the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was all about the need to deal with the gold in the Grand Canyon. And there's a really good picture of Woodrow Wilson, if you ask me. Or it could be a Warburg, and and when Dick was talking about this, he's talking about the Warburgs and the Rockefellers and that type of thing. Absolutely 100% spot on as far as the Road to Ruta theory, that the reason the Federal Reserve was created was all this gold they found in the Grand Canyon. And you look at the pictures, they're like, he's talking starch collars and all that stuff. All these guys could have fit this picture. But very interesting. And here's a list of the people who attended the meeting to create the Federal Reserve at Jekyll Island. I absolutely agree with G. Edward Griffith's book, Creature from Jekyll Island, that it was done in secret. The only thing he misses, I believe, is the reason for it. He thinks it's so the bankers could take over the world. They ended up taking over the world, but the reason for it, they would have lost massive amounts of wealth if you basically destroy the monetary system, destroy what we held back then as the number one asset, gold, and all of a sudden there's not, back then it was like 100,000 ounces in circulation, or 100 million ounces in circulation, and if they found tens of billions of ounces, what would that do? So yeah, it was a very big deal, and you can see why in Dick's drawing, saying, "Oh, they're around a table and they're all animated." Sure, they would have lost all their wealth. So they created the Federal Reserve System. This is a big thing that Dick drew. I think this came out in the session. It's a real physical place. It's right here. A pyramid. There's an energy source at the top of the pyramid, very bright. Anybody who's studied the pyramids and the potential knew that it's not a tomb. It's not a burial tomb to honor the Egyptian gods. That's another one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. It was functioning, and the pyramids are functioning, or were functioning. And there's all kinds of research into, what could they have been? Is it like a Tesla tower type of thing? Is it a way to communicate off planet? Who knows? God knows we're not allowed to know. And that's a sore subject in my book, that they hide the history from us. But Dick clearly saw a pyramid, and this is just from a number. And talking about the Grand Canyon, nothing was talked about pyramids or anything within the targeting. But he did come up with the pyramid and saying this is a real place and bright light energy at the top of the pyramid. And then I said, well, okay, here's what we got. If you're looking for a pyramid as it relates to the monetary system, they have it bottom left, back of the $1 bill. That is still there. It's the only bill that hasn't been redone, because it is so important for our monetary system. If there really is billions and billions of ounces of gold in the Grand Canyon, which I believe there is, on both in the ground and out of the ground in the basement, I'm going to show you that in a second, basement of these pyramids, then it is absolutely important. And here's a picture of the Tower of Ra right here. A river can't carve that. And what's in there? You're not allowed to hike here, by the way. Nope, all cut off. Basically, the Grand Canyon was cut off for the most part back in early 1900s. Woodrow Wilson, after he signed the Federal Reserve Act, shut off the Grand Canyon from all mining. Can't make it up. It's absolutely true. And here's these are the actual names of these features within the Grand Canyon. Are they ancient pyramids that are basically eroding and have been washed away and fallen apart? It sure does look like it to me. And there are plenty of examples of people who have discovered some strange things in there. I think it was there's a couple new theories that came out, and whistleblowers. There's been whistleblowers for years. Everybody's like, "Well, Bix, if there's so much gold in the Grand Canyon, why hasn't anybody talked about it?" They not only talk about it, they show it right on the back of the $1 bill. There you go. There's your pyramid with your gold in it. Yes, it does take some reading into. But definitely, and these are just 3 of the mountains that are named after pyramids because they look like pyramids and named after the Greek god or the Egyptian gods. I wouldn't even call them Egyptian gods, truthfully, because the pyramids are found all over the world. The Bosnian pyramid's one of the biggest known to man, and mainstream science still won't even talk about it. It's under dirt, and they're digging it out and saying, "Oh my God, this is a pyramid. It's all rock and formed rock and put together rock." So here's a map of all the different Egyptian named mountains, shall we say, within the Grand Canyon. 8 of them or so. And they are absolutely aligned with the stars. And Dick came up with a huge thing about the stars and trade routes and really bizarre stuff that he couldn't get his hands around, and I can't get my hands around. But these pyramids are aligned with the stars, which I will show you right here. Look at this. The monuments of the Grand Canyon align with the Hunter constellation, Orion and Pleiades. And this is the Grand Canyon, and they've overlaid the star thing, and it's absolutely perfect. Interesting, huh? But Dick drew this. All the stars, they moved together. There's all kinds of spiritual things that were going on to create the Grand Canyon, in my opinion. And that it really was. What was the original process to form the Grand Canyon? And here's the creation of the canyon. And this is Dick's drawing, and this is Daz Smith's drawing. It was not water slowly erosion, but an high energy event. And they both came up with very similar things. It's a tectonic shift. Look at Dick's. This is from a number. Geologic rumble, shaping, scraping, shaking dust, passage blocked, sealed. Apparently, there were things sealed when the Grand Canyon was first formed, as in chambers, sealed for good reason, supposedly. And there's what Daz drew, and there's the picture of the Grand Canyon. Clearly, they fit together. Each side fit together. You can see how it's shaped. They used to fit together. It's not just erosion. These are sheer walls, some of them a mile deep. A winding river does not create a sheer wall. So, yeah, that's the wrong story. And then this is what Dick drew. Amazing stuff. Because remember, the original question was, describe in detail a specific process that originally formed the Grand Canyon and how the unique formations within the canyons were formed. So there's the canyon, and here's the unique formations, the creation of the pyramids. And Dick's drawing these hash marks for measurements and vertical structures, and they're craftsmen and master builders and that whole thing. It is amazing. And they're literally building these pyramids. And this is the big one. This is the mother. Both Dick and Rock Archie came with hidden entrances under the Grand Canyon, the pyramids within the Grand Canyon, and stacks and stacks and stacks of gold. And both of them got almost the exact same thing. Now, this is not reading my mind. The gold in the Grand Canyon for me was the 1912 article that the massive deposits were found right around Lee's Ferry that they were mining and excavating, and it's going to change the world by billions of ounces. That was the New York Times. This is completely different. This is already mined, formed, processed gold sitting in a deep underground basement of a pyramid within the Grand Canyon, which is more in line with the creation of the Federal Reserve. If they found this in the early 1900s, how freaked out do you think the banksters would be? Enough to create the Federal Reserve System? Absolutely. So, yeah, there's your Grand Canyon connection to gold. And both of them absolutely nailed it. And the question is it still there? And there's more. Make sure you go to Patreon and look up this project they did on the remote viewing the Grand Canyon. It is amazing how much it comes in line with the Road to Ruta stuff. Anyway, this is a private road discussion, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting times when this is known by humanity. And I think as soon as we take out the bad guys, crash the old system, get onto something new, this information can get out there. And I think it's long in the tooth for hiding what our history is. And I think very soon we'll be able to talk about this stuff in the open. And a good sign of this is Trump creating the Space Force. Everyone's like, "What? A Space Force?" We've had a Space Force for a long time. The secret space program has been around for a long time. But it's time for it to come out in the open and let people know the truth. And part of the truth is this massive amount of gold in the pyramids within the Grand Canyon that were put there long before the United States was ever around, millions of years ago, probably. Anyway, something to scratch your head with. It's Big Weir. I'll talk to you later.